Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my Fairy Tales Island explanation video. For those of you that are new to my channel or new to Monster Legends and have never done a progressive island, this video is intended to teach you guys how progressive islands work. But if you already know all you need to know about progressive islands, you can just skip ahead where I'm going to be giving my thoughts on this island, what monsters I think are worth going for, whether I think this event is even worth spending time on or spending gems on. You can just skip ahead and listen to me talk about that. But anyways, for those of you that don't quite understand progressive islands, let's jump right into it. A new island has emerged and it is like a fairy tale come true. Fight through the monstrous Fairy Tales Island and collect all the new monsters it holds. Oh, and by the way, all the information I'm going to be talking about is extracted from MONSTER-WIKI.com. There's going to be a link to the website in the description below, or you can see the website in the screen before you, so you can just type that into your URL. And with that being said, now let's jump into it. So the first thing we see is missions, and this pretty much tells you what monsters are available in the progressive island. The first monster available is Slantar, followed by T-Shire, Sun Cookie, Wolf's Tangnan, and then we have Mmo Monster, Mr. Scratch, and Little Red Prairie Cap. So a total of 7 monsters are available, 4 of which are legendaries, 2 of which are epics, and 1 of which is a rare. Alright, so in introduction, you will receive items as you perform different actions in Monster Legends, and you may win magnificent rewards. Win battles as you progress on your amazing quest across the island. You can claim the corresponding reward after getting all the requested items. The more items you get, the more rewards you unlock. So how Fairy Tales Island works. Developers call these events progressive islands. It means you must complete the mission in order. You cannot skip a mission. Requirements for each mission is collected by chance. More items collect give more chance, not by how much you collect. So this is entirely different to flipping card events. For example, 10 times collecting 100 to 1000 gold gives you a better chance than collecting 1 million gold one time. So keep collecting, spam it until your pool is empty. This is super important. In this type of event, all you need to do is to keep spamming. Keep collecting gold, keep feeding your monster. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let me just continue. How each mission works. Alright, this next part is important. You need to understand this and how to read Monster-Wiki in order to understand how to play the game. And honestly, not all of these are important, so I'm only going to focus on the important ones. The first of which is the number sign. It's the number of items needed to be collected. Percent doesn't matter, so we're going to move over to pool. It's the number of available items to collect at the start of each challenge. Can fill up, but not past this point. Once again, you can fill up to this point, but you can't pass it. The spawn time indicates the time it takes for another item to be added to the pool. You cannot add to a full pool. So once the pool is full, you can't add another item into that pool. Estimated time and pool time don't really matter, but the next important thing is that different item type has an independent pool time, so I'll talk about that a little later. So here we have a wonderful example with meteorites. Let's say the item you needed to collect was a meteorite. So in this hypothetical situation with meteorites, you would need to collect 81 of them, the pool is 7, and 1 meteorite gets added to your pool every 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 34 seconds. So if you were to log in every hour, 8 minutes, 34 seconds, you'd be able to collect 1 more meteorite. Or you could just do 1 hour, 8 minutes, 34 seconds, multiply that by 7. I believe you would get a total of 8 hours, which means if you log into the game every 8 hours, you can collect 7 meteorites at a time. And then estimated time just tells you it would actually take you 3 days, 12 hours, 33 minutes, 56 seconds in order to collect all 81 meteorites. So I think that's pretty straightforward. So now I want to give you guys an actual example with a monster from the event. So I'm going to click on Slantar. So here we have Slantar. In this gem chart, I'll talk about that a little later. Let's move on down to the items. In order to get Slantar, there's 4 different items you need to get. There's this hat, this pot, this hook, and this egg. So when you click on each individual item, it tells you how to get it. So in order to get the hat, it says right here, you may get this item by collecting gold. The pot, you may get this item whenever you feed your monsters. The hook, you may get this item when you win in this event's battles. And the eggs, you may get this item when you hatch eggs. So let's go back to the hat, collecting gold. You need to get 22 hats, your pool is 8, and your spawn time is 1 hour. Which means if you log into the game every 1 hour and collect gold, you're going to be getting 1 more hat. So if you log into the game 30 minutes, you're not going to be getting a hat. If you log in 59 minutes, you're not going to be getting a hat. You need to log in intervals of 1 hour. Or you can just log in 4 hours and you'd get 4 hats, or in 6 hours and you'd get 6 hats, or in 8 hours and you'd get 8 hats. And this next point is very important. The pool is 8, which means you can only have 8 hats in the pool. If you log in 10 hours from now, it doesn't matter, you're only going to get 8 hats. If you log in 24 hours from now, I'm sorry, you're not going to get 22 hats in one go. You can still only get 8 hats. That's why the pool is so important. You need to understand the pool and you need to understand the spawn. Let's take a look at the pot. You need to collect 12 pots, the pool is 5, the spawn time is 1 hour and 36 minutes. So once you've collected your pots, it spawns every hour and 36 minutes, which means if you log in 2 hours from now, you're only going to be getting 1 more pot. You're not going to get 2. If you log in 3 hours from the last time you emptied out your pool, well, 1 hour and 36 minutes plus 1 hour and 36 minutes, that's 3 hours and 12 minutes, so you're still only going to be getting 1 item. Before performing an activity, you need to wait and make sure that the item has spawned. Now here's something interesting about progressive islands. If you notice, the pool for the hat is 8, the spawn time is 1 hour. 1 times 8 8 is 8. For the pot, the pull is 5, the spawn time is 1 hour 36 minutes. 5 times 1 hour and 36 minutes is 8 hours. And as for hatching eggs, the pull is 1, the spawn time is 8. 1 times 8 is 8. So realistically, all you have to do is log in 8 hours. If you don't understand anything about logging in, pools, or spawn times, just know that you pretty much just have to log in every 8 hours, and that's when your pools are going to be full, and that's when you can collect, and then you'll be on your merry way. So I'm going to repeat that once again. If you haven't understood anything I've said up until now, just know that all you have to do for this event is log into the game every 8 hours and perform all of your activities. Make sure your pools are empty. That's all you have to do. Now that method isn't completely foolproof, and I'll talk about that a little later, but that is something you can do if you didn't understand me up until now. Alright, now the next thing I have to mention, do you remember this thing in red that says different item type has independent pool time? Well, that basically means that all the items are independent from one another. So I mentioned that you need to log into the game and complete different activities in order to get items while they're independent from one another. And what that means is, let's say you log in and collect all your gold. That doesn't affect the pool or the spawn time of the hooks, or the hatching the egg, or the pots. If you only log into the game and collect gold, nothing else is affected. And the same thing applies to everything else. You can log into the game, you can get all of your pots, and you can never touch your gold, which means the collecting gold pool will never be affected, or the spawn time will never be affected. So for those of you that like to log into the game periodically, be really careful with that, because let's just say that all of your pools are empty and you're on Slaying Tower, and then 1 hour from now you log back into the game, you collect your gold, you're happy because you got one hat, but then you keep feeding your monsters and you're not getting any pots. Well, that's because the spawn time for the pots is 1 hour and 36 minutes, while the spawn time for the hat is 1 hour. And you might be frustrated, you might waste all of your food for your monster, you're never gonna get another pot because of that spawn time. So for those of you that like to log in periodically, just be careful and realize that different items have a different spawn time and different items are independent from one another. And one more thing to be aware of, different monsters require a different amount of items to be collected. Look for example, Tearshire, 25 gold, 14 feed, 3 breed, 4 PvP. Sun Cookie, 34 gold, 19 feed, 3 map, 4 hatch, 6 PvP. Different monsters require different amount of items, and furthermore, depending on what monster you're on, the items have a different spawn time and a different pool. So I'm gonna click on Tearshire to demonstrate my point. Looky here, for Tearshire, collecting gold, the pool is 5, whereas for Slaying Tower it was 8, and the spawn time is now 1 hour 36 minutes, whereas it used to be 1 hour. So depending on what mission you're on or what monster you're on, the spawn time and the pool can be completely different. So you have to make sure you check MONSTER-WIKI and you know which one you're on so you can progress through the island correctly. So hopefully all of you have followed with me up until now. This next part is super important. It's the gems cost per time charts. These charts basically tell you how many gems you would have to spend in order to get the monster immediately, and then it also tells you with respect to how many hours you've played, how many items you've collected. So let's look at Slaying Tower for example. Let's say the event just started, you've collected no items, no time has passed. If you wanted to get Slaying Tower, it would cost 136 coins. But here's the thing, when the event first starts, all of your pools are full. So let's say you go through all your tasks, you empty out all of your pools, Slaying Tower would only cost you 53 gems, and as you can see, 0 hours would have passed. Now let's say you're a little impatient and you don't want to wait 8 hours, so instead you log in 2 hours from now, you do all of your tasks, his cost would now go down to 40 gems. 2 hours later, his cost would go down to 30. And by the way, this is assuming you are collecting all of your items. If for example, after the event started, you collected all of your pools, then you waited 8 hours, he would only cost 10 gems. So this is how you use the chart to see how much a monster will cost. Now another reason these charts are really important is because it also helps you to figure out which is the best time to spend gems, because it's not the same for every monster. Some people have told me that they just play the monster and then when it gets down to like 20 gems or less, that's when they purchase the monster. That isn't really efficient because some monsters are better to purchase earlier on and some monsters are better to purchase later on. And to give you guys a really quick example, let's just look at Tearshire at the 108 mark. So once you get Slaying Tower and once you unlock Tearshire, he's gonna cost 173 gems, but oh by the way, this is really important too. After you get a monster, all the pools are refilled again. So make sure to collect your pools as soon as you get a monster. Even if you buy that monster with gems, the next monster, all of the pools will be refilled, so make sure you empty out those pools. And sometimes it's a little difficult. You have to collect, keep spamming collect gold, keep feeding your monsters, then you have to exit out of the game and log back in, but trust me, all of your pools are full. Anyways, Tearshire, if you pay those 108 gems, you save 1 day and 8 hours. So you would have saved yourself 32 hours. That's quite a bit of time. But let's take a look at mission 4. So let's say instead of using those 108 gems on Tearshire, you waited until Wolfman over here on mission 4. That would be in between the 12-hour mark and the 18-hour mark, so right in between the 116 gem and the 91 gems. So right about the middle, I would say you would have been playing on mission 4 for about 16 hours. And if you pay those 108 gems, you would save yourself the remaining time. So the full time for mission 4 is 2 days and 18 hours. If you've been playing for 16 hours, then you saved yourself 2 days and 2 hours. So for the same amount of gems, 108 gems, you could save yourself 2 days and 2 hours, whereas in Tearshire you only save 1 day and 8 hours. A big difference for the same amount of gems. So this is why the charts are helpful. There's a way to optimize alchemized gems in order to get whatever monster you want in order to complete the whole event. Now for those of you that are a little confused with the whole chart or just don't want to do the math, I want to give a big shout out and a big thanks to Jasper because he went ahead. You can go to MonsterWiki.com, scroll down to the comment section and look for these two charts. He basically went ahead and did all the hard work himself, he did all the math, and he basically tells you how you can get every single monster for as little as 200 gems. That's pretty good considering you get 4 legendaries, 2 epics, and a rare. Or if you don't care about the last monster, and once again I'll be giving my thoughts about her a little later, then you can get the first 6 monsters. And by the way, Mr. Scratch, Pinocchio, he's actually pretty good. You can get all of them for as little as 30 gems and with quite a bit of buffer time. So make sure to go to MonsterWiki, make sure to scroll down to the comments, make sure to thank Jasper because he went ahead and did all the hard work for us. Now before I give you guys my thoughts on the island and the monsters, I just want to give you guys some tips and tricks. For collecting gold, you can literally just go on one habitat and just spam collect over and over again until you empty out your pool. Trust me, it works. You keep doing it. If anything, just switch around from habitat to habitat, but you can literally just spam collect gold. For the item that requires feeding your monster, I recommend just trying to breed a lot of Pandakins. Breed the common fire monster with a common nature monster. Hopefully you can get Pandakin, and then just feed that Pandakin up to like level 2, 3, or 4, and you can just keep repeating that process over and over again. You're gonna save yourself a lot of food instead of just leveling up one monster all the way to like level 20 or more. Plus with Pandakin, you can extract that monster and you're gonna want to rank him up later on. And then my next tip and trick for breeding and hatching, actually, this gets a little complicated. Some people sometimes report that they're not getting the item from hatching or breeding, and that's probably because of the monster you're breeding. So let's say you're trying to breed Pandakin on like the breeding cave, and then on your breeding mountain, you're breeding a legendary monster. So it's upwards 2 days. I think what tends to happen is that the item kind of gets associated with the legendary monster as opposed to the Pandakin. So if you're breeding Pandakin over and over and over again and you're not getting your item, you're like, why can't I get my item? Why can't I get my item? Why can't I get those mushrooms? It's pretty much because that item is kind of like stuck or associated with the legendary monster. So you're not going to be getting your item until that legendary monster hatches. Maybe it wasn't the mushroom I meant, maybe it was more of the egg. Until that legendary monster hatches, you won't be getting your egg. So you can breed Pandakin over and over and over again. Unfortunately, you won't get that egg, which kind of sucks because during this event, if there's a breeding event going on, or if you want to breed a monster, you're kind of going to put yourself in a difficult position because it might get stuck with that monster that takes a lot of time. And that's just something to keep in mind. It's not that the game is broken or anything, it's just that it's the way the game works. If you guys just want to focus 100% on the events, on the progressive island, I would just recommend both of your habitats. Don't try to breed any epics, any legendaries, just have both of them breeding fire and nature, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get your egg. And one final tip and trick, if you ever find yourself not getting all of your pool, let's say collect gold, the pool is 5 and you only got 4 hats, I would recommend that you exit out of the game and then log back in, and then that should be good. That always works for me. So now with all that out of the way, for those of you that want to hear my thoughts on the monsters and the island, I want to start off by saying it really seems like this Fairy Tales Island is catered towards new players. And I say that because none of the new monsters are too spectacular. The old monsters they put in the event, they're nothing too amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them are pretty good, but overall as a veteran player, I don't see anything really worth getting. Now, I like collecting monsters, so I'm definitely going to try to complete every single mission. But anyways, let's just talk about Slayantar. He's a rare monster, and as far as rare monsters are concerned, he's one of the better rare monsters. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this monster has actually been available in previous progressive islands. So this is good because you might have enough monster cells to be able to rank him up, and you really do want to rank up this monster. I mean, just look at this amazing supportive skill. Removes all negative effects and gives double damage to all friendly monsters. Such a great supportive skill. If you wanted him to deal damage, he has Divine Charge. It's a 70 damage skill. I mean, he's a rare monster, so I don't know how much damage he'll actually deal against a legendary monster. Still a good attack. And he also comes with a single stun skill, which may actually win you the game. Sometimes you just need to immobilize the enemy monster one more time for you to be able to win the game. So he's definitely a great rare monster. And next up is Tearshire, who has a pretty impressive power for an epic monster. His life is a little on the low side. Speed, that's pretty good, better than average. He's immune to nightmares, which isn't necessarily the best trait to have. Considering he's a dark element, I guess that can help him against fellow dark monsters. But considering he's also part magic, and considering dark monsters also have possession skills, it'd be better if his trait was immune to possession. So Tearshire himself does have a possession skill, as well as this skill, Am I Rude? Deals low dark damage to all enemies, 50% chance of possessing all enemies, requires cooldown. And this is crazy, it's actually a 2-turn possession. The big drawback of course is that it's a 50% chance of possession, but it's a 2-turn possession. If it was to land on even one monster, that enemy monster would be possessed for 2 full turns. Now the main thing with Tearshire is that he is not a definite immobilizer. He doesn't have an AoE possession, he doesn't have an AoE stun, he doesn't have something that can guarantee a deny. But Am I Rude? I think this has a lot of potential, especially if you were to partner up this monster with someone that can give him increased accuracy, someone that can give him precision. So I urge everyone not to count on this monster just yet. He does potentially have potential. From my experience with General Thetis, every time I use her skill that gives her increased accuracy and then use her Frosting Sea monster, the 50% AoE free skill, it actually hits all of the enemy monsters. So if you're planning on using Tearshire, I highly recommend that combo. Just give him increased accuracy, and then use Am I Rude and just watch the enemies attack themselves for 2 full turns. So I really do like this epic monster a lot, and even though I gave you guys that combo, still because he doesn't have a guaranteed deny skill by himself, I have to say there are way better epic monsters than him. And next up we have the Gingerbread Man, who is one of the first original magic monsters, and unfortunately he's not that good. But for you Dragon Ball Z fans, you'll definitely love his skills. Wolf Tengen is also available. Stats wise not the most impressive, his speed is actually pretty sad compared to the other epic monsters. His trait is hardened, which is good and compensates for his low speed, and the reason this monster is good is because of his full moon skill. Removes debuffs, gives double damage, and heals by 25% to all of your teammates, only a 2-turn cooldown. That is absolutely amazing. Another monster worth getting in this event, especially for you new players starting off, or for you veteran players that just want to rank up your monsters and get some better epics on your team. And next we have Mmo Monster. Yes, this monster is based off the YouTuber, and I'm sorry to break your hearts. If you love the YouTuber, I am sorry. I didn't make the game. Mmo Monster in this game is by far not one of the best. I was gonna say by far one of the worst, but he's honestly not that bad. He's just not that great. I remember when I made my top 10 list for Dark Monsters, I had comments, people telling me, where's Mmo Monster? He's honestly just not that great. Now, with that being said, he is specifically good for adventure map. Mmo Monster has skills called 1 dislike, 2 dislikes, 3 dislikes, and basically depending on what it is, 1, 2, or 3, let's take a look at 2 dislikes, damages target by 20% of its total life, so 3 dislikes damages target by 30% of its total life. And in adventure map, when you're going up against boss that have like a huge life, using 3 dislikes, 2 dislikes, 1 dislike, spamming that over and over again, that is an easy way to defeat any boss, especially if you don't have Timerion. This is a great alternative monster for adventure map, which is why I said earlier on that it really seems like this event is catered towards new players. So if you're a new player and you're struggling with adventure map, I highly recommend you do whatever it takes to get Mmo Monster. As far as player versus player or team wars, again, he's not that good of a monster. I'm sorry, don't kill me, I didn't make the game. And that's really all I have to say about Mmo Monster. And next we have Mr. Scratch. The only thing I want to point out about this monster is his speed, 3,465. This is the speed that a lot of top deny monsters have. This is the speed that Kaolic has, Demise has, if you count Demise as a deny monster, Harusami is supposed to have, Glitch. If a monster has a speed of 3,465, for the most part, they're going to be outspeeding most of the other monsters in their own category. So considering Mr. Scratch is a magic monster, the only deny monster faster than him would be Galante, and the only monster that matches his speed that is a deny monster would be Uru. So really great speed stat. And even better is that his trait is also immune to possession. You guys have heard me say before that I consider Uru to be the best magic monster because he has an AoE stun. The only problem with Uru is that he isn't immune to possession, so things can get a little tricky in team wars. But Mr. Scratch is pretty much faster than all the other magic monsters, and he's tied with Uru, and he can actually immobilize Uru. So as of right now, I'm thinking Mr. Scratch has what it takes to be one of the top magic monsters. Moving over to skills, we have an AoE possession, that's nice. The Many Evils applies 2 random negative effects to all targets, that's also pretty nice. Exhausting Spell deals moderate special damage, removes 50% of stamina from target. Hey, you never know, sometimes removing 50% of stamina is all you need to get that extra turn and wipe out the enemy. You also have yourself an AoE Stamina Leak, a skill that removes 25% of stamina from target, and you can gain up to 60% of stamina. I'm assuming for each monster you target you get 20% of stamina back. That's also a pretty good skill. And Cursed Mind, a single possession skill. So he has an AoE possession, single possession, removes stamina, stamina leak. There are so many different viable routes you can go with Mr. Scratch. He is by far the best monster to get in this event. And keep in mind, you can get him for as little as 33 gems, assuming you time your logins, assuming you collect when your pools are full. If there's only one monster you really should get if you're a veteran player or a new player, you should definitely get Mr. Scratch. He is certainly going to come in handy. And the very last monster on the progressive island is Little Red Prairie Cap with a power of 3,476. For those of you that don't know, this power is tied to that of Barbatos, so based on that, she's going to be an attacker. Now unfortunately for Little Red, her skills aren't too amazing, the only exception being Bigger Hands, 70 damage, 20 in stamina, no cooldown. This skill is the one exception. It is actually amazing. A monster with this much power, a skill this powerful, given 1 level 10 strength rune or 2 high level runes, that is going to be enough to one hit just about any single monster that comes your way. And the fact that this skill has no cooldown, well, you can basically just wipe out enemy after enemy using this single attack. Also keep in mind, she is a dark monster, so even if you go up against earth monsters who are really tanky, she does have that elemental advantage over those earth monsters. So yeah, that's Little Red Prairie Cap for you. So anyways, that is going to conclude this video on the Fairy Tales Island. I really hope it was helpful, and I think I've talked enough. Now I want to hear from all of you. What do you guys think about this event, and what monster are you going after? What do you think about the 2 new legendary monsters specifically? What do you think about Little Red and Pinocchio? Whatever's going on in your head, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. With that being said, I hope everyone can get whatever monster they want to. Good luck on this event. It's only 9 more days, so put in all your effort. And like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.